What's up guys, Dennis here. Hope you're doing good. I want to do a video for you on a concept that's been going on in my mind for a couple days now. Um, I actually did the video yesterday and I kind of wanted to redo it. I was very pensive last night and I thought I'd do a video but didn't really like how it came out, so um, I wanted to do it a little bit better. But I talk a lot about in my videos about how we typically look for things outside of ourselves, how we try to, um, look for happiness and satisfaction in in external factors, materialistic things, in um, the approval of others. We take into account other people's opinions and all that stuff, right? And I kind of want to talk a little bit about culture. And the topic of the video is consumerism, but consumerism ties very closely to culture. And I live in the U.S. If you're watching this, chances are you live in the U.S. And the U.S. has a very strong capitalistic consumer type culture to it, right? Um, and I won't go into it in too much in depth, but I realize that that element of it, that element of our culture, creates most, if not all, of our problems that we have on an individual basis, or collectively as a society and as a culture. You don't have to look far at all to be able to tell that all we promote is materialistic things, ideas and concepts that, in many ways, are outside of us, right? The six-pack abs and looking hot in the summer. Everything is just selling, 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 selling things that are outside of ourselves to feel a certain way. Everything is just advertising, pure advertisement. And I've mentioned it in other videos that every single day there's a battle for your time, your money, and your mind. Specifically, your money and your mind. But that type of culture, the culture that we have, is extremely detrimental, and I think it causes all, if not most, of our problems. And I say that because I was thinking about it a couple of days ago. I'm like, wow, that's a pretty crazy concept. So I want to paint a picture for you. So let's say we have a village, right? We create a brand new village. It's very far away from the nearest city. Let's say we're in the United States. There's this village that we create out of nowhere, right? And we take 5,000 people, we'll just say, from the United States. And these are people that, they're all about the houses and the cars and the money and the lifestyle and the vacations and the fashion and the jewelry and all the stuff that we chase every single day, that's promoted and encouraged and emphasized in our culture. We take 5,000 of those people and we put them in this village. It's just those 5,000 people. And let's say the nearest place is 80 miles away or 100 miles away, right? The nearest city. And now, let's say these 5,000 people get together one day and someone says, you know what? From now on, we're not going to judge each other by how we look, what we dress, how we dress, the house that we have, the cars that we drive. We're not going to look at each other that way. That's not going to be the goal. We're not going to judge each other in that manner, right? From now on, that doesn't matter to us. I don't care where you're driving. I don't care where you live. None of that, right? And if these 5,000 people fundamentally understand this and they agree on this, follow me here. What's going to happen? Now we have this village that's secluded, very far from the nearest influencing cities, right? These people now change their behavior. What happens? Now, people are like, okay, instead of pursuing this $400,000 or $500,000 home or something like that, they'll say, okay, I want a home, I'm ready to buy a house, and they'll buy one for, let's say, $125,000, right? And instead of getting into a situation where they're trying to finance a home over 30, 35 years, let's say they get into a home, put some of it down cash, and they finance 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, right? What happens when people say, you know what, now I only need a car to get from A to B? Now this person, instead of saying, okay, I want to lease or finance this $50,000, $60,000 car, they're going to say, what do I need that for? I'm going to buy an $8,000 car cash, right? Boom, done. What happens to the people that love showing off or trying to look a certain way on social media? Or they're trying to go into the fancy stores and spend $200 on a shirt, or $8,000 on a watch, or $400 on a pair of shoes, right? Those people are now like, I don't really care about it. I'm going to buy a $50 pair of shoes. I'll buy a $20 pair of jeans, and I'll just wear t-shirts and $15, $20 button downs. What ends up happening is that not only financially do people remove that stress that they are typically under all the time, because the goal is to pursue these materialistic things. Not only is the stress gone or significantly reduced, these people now have more money in their pockets because they're not consumers in the traditional sense. They're not blowing their money on every single little thing trying to impress people, buying things they don't need and they can't afford, right? So those are two major things right there. Then what are the other, we'll call them unintended effects, right? Now people are no longer competing against each other. They're not comparing themselves to other people, right? And now people start feeling more confident about themselves. The self-esteem goes up. Now they're looking at what's more important in their life, right? And they can pull the veil over from away from their eyes that has been there all this time, and now they can look at things for what they really are. Now, because there isn't this pressure and encouragement of all this, financial and materialistic progress to go through, now there's less corruption, less greed, right? Now we have companies that are not trying to push every type of product in any way, shape, or form at the expense of nature, animals, and people's health, right? They're not going to try to cut corners to try to mass produce stuff at the lowest quality possible that people will continue to buy, right? So now that element is now removed. And now when we've peeled back all this just because people are no longer consumers and they don't care about what the other has, what they look like, right? You've peeled all that and you've removed these gigantic problems that we have in today's culture that I believe that any very consumer type society has, right? You've removed all of that just by doing one thing, by everyone agreeing, hey, we don't care about what you're driving, where you live, how you look, right? That's just that right there. And then the result of it would be what? Now you have 5,000 people that are looking at each other like, hey, now I can look at what's important in my life. What should I be pursuing? Now that I have these things already, this isn't the goal anymore, then what? Now people start looking at each other as, how can we develop, better relationships? How can we pursue experiences in life, right? How can I know as many people as I possibly can? How would relationships improve at that point? Because now you're not looking at people as your enemy or someone to compare against or someone to stunt on, right? These are just people that are there, and that tension isn't there. That assumption, those expectations aren't there. So now you can have more friends, right? Now you can focus on doing cool stuff in life and experiencing life. But here's the other thing. Now that we removed all the fake shit out the way and all those problems are gone, now people are going to be like, well, what problems do we solve now? What now? Now people can focus on the problems that actually matter, right? The problems that affect every one of those 5,000 people. So now, because those people are capable of getting together and agreeing on the fact that they're no longer going to care about what they wear and how they look, and people aren't going to judge each other based off of that, what happens? Now you have all these people that can say, let's fix big problems. What are problems that affect all of us, right? Whether it's, quality of food or the amount of food. How can we not be affected by weather so much. Just make sure that we never have a flooding issue or anything like that. Um, Major problems that affect everybody, and this is what I wanted to get to. People need a common enemy. A common enemy brings people together, and when there isn't a common enemy, then people make enemies of each other, right? If you take 20 people, whether they could be racists, they could be thieves, they could be murderers. You could take the bottom of the barrel people, right? Doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter what their religious beliefs are, their upbringing. You take 20 people that don't like each other at all. They don't get along. They don't even want to be around each other. You think those 20 people in a room, and they're gonna fight each other, and they're gonna argue, and it's gonna be an escalated situation. If you introduce a lion into that room, the dynamic automatically shifts. Now people are no longer looking at each other like this person's the enemy. Without even saying a word, everyone knows, hey, we're all humans, and that lion is more trouble and is a more potential danger to all of us than one of us is to each other. How fundamental how crazy is that? We need a common enemy, and because we don't have one, sometimes maybe life is so good that we look for the problems in it, and so we create them, right? We are now each other's enemies. Now we want to stunt on people. Now we want to do all this stuff, and all we want to do is chase things outside of ourselves because we're being sold that all the time. That looks like what life is supposed to be about, right? But at the end of the day, we all live in a box, right? We live in a box, and if you can never step back and look at the box that you're in, and you're so close to it all the time that you don't even see the walls, you don't see what's going on, you don't see the problems that are actually happening every single day, and how you're being affected, how other people are being affected, right? And that same village, now people that in this particular culture, right, that are stressed out, they're not comfortable in their own skin, they have anxiety, they don't know how to be in social situations, they have all these expectations they have to live by, as if you're a guy, you have to look this way and have this, you have to have this kind of money, you have to be in shape. You have all these different people, and they don't know how to get along. Then you got people committing suicide. You got people on drugs and alcohol with alcohol problems, all because of that box. And I believe that if you were to start in the first place, which is removing the consumer type culture, that people can remove the cloth that they have over their eyes that stops them from seeing what's important and how they're being affected, how the culture and the traditions are destroying their own lives and destroying relations with other people or preventing potential relationships. If you can take just that element out, the consumer type, I need things outside of myself, I need to get this is the goal, to buy this, and get yourself into holes just trying to accomplish things that other people said would make you look like this, or that you would get certain type of respect, that people would look at you a certain way. If you get that out of a society, then you would have that village that I'm talking about, where people no longer have those problems that we have now, right? They're financially stable, they're not looking to impress anybody. They don't have to go through 50 years to try and pursue materialistic things and things outside of themselves to realize all this time none of this shit mattered anyway, right? And now you have people that are, instead of being divided, now they're looking to find the common enemy. The common enemy. What are the common enemies? Make sure that our people have, food, sufficient food and quality food, right? That we're safe from nature, that we tackle any disease problems that we have, right? Let's get together and put our minds together and solve real problems, right? And when you have that, that's almost like it's a utopia is what it is, essentially. All because you did one thing, which was to remove the consumer type culture, so that people could then have the space to say, we don't care about any of this stuff. Get that out of the way and now focus on the important things, right? At that point, in that village, you're not going to have companies that are trying to scam and steal people's money and all that stuff, because there's no motivation for that. And now, check this out. What ends up happening is then companies would then have to adapt, because when a person says, I'm no longer a consumer in the traditional sense, and they don't live their life that way, and they're aware, now there's no amount of advertising that a company could do to sell a goddamn thing. Think about that. So the power comes from the people. The power comes from the people. And if the people increase their awareness and they remove this culture and realize how they've been programmed to be screwed over this way, all the rest of the things fall into place and the problems solve themselves. And I don't want to make the video too long, but I hope that makes something click for you. I hope that's something that's revealing to you. I thought it was interesting when I was thinking about that. But an important thing to do is to, if that makes sense to you, is to practice it in your own life. Remove the consumer in you. Remove that away from you. Understand that everything is advertising, and someone's always trying to battle for your mind, your attention, and your money. That's why everyone has a job. That's why every company exists. It's all only for money, right? That's all it's for. It's money. Which means that everything that you see is all advertising. And if you can say, pause. I don't want any of these things. I don't need any of these things. I don't want to live this way. I'm not going to play this game. I'm not going to fall in this hole. I'm going to do the things that make sense. And now you can start having your own utopia right under your own roof. And this is critical because I live this way now. I mean, every single day I try to live more and more that way. I seek to create a lifestyle where you're just running lean. You don't care about everything external to you. There's no attachment to it. You have more money in your pocket because you're not buying all these stupid things that everyone's trying to pitch you. You don't care about what's out. It doesn't make you feel any type of way like you need something or you're missing out. None of that. None of that. When you get to that point, then you understand that now you have control over your own brain, your own mind. That you figure out a secret, and that secret is I don't need anything outside of myself. And whenever I pursue something outside of myself that's not fundamental, you already know the problems are coming. It's gonna manifest issues with you and in your life because you're seeking something that you're not in control of, that someone else is selling you. Someone else is selling you that. And this is it's critical. But you could see how changing your mind and your approach and becoming more aware, how it could change your own life, but a group of people that think this way could create a utopia. And we could eliminate all, if not most, of the problems, right? Because right now we have companies that are cutting corners, that are producing products that eventually harm people, right? There's less emphasis on quality control and health regulations because it's all about the money. And then when you have a people that won't buy things and don't care for things outside of themselves, especially when they're not good for them, well then every single entity has to follow suit, right? Anyway, I hope you guys got something out of this. And let me know what you think wherever you're watching this. I would love to know what you think about this video and the topic. And I will see you guys in the next video.